Hello, hello, hello. I had the microphone off again. Boy, I hate when I do that. At least I caught it early this time. How's everybody doing today? Can you hear me now? I think you can hear me now. I'm going to keep talking. There we go. Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, so today is Monday, the 27th, which means it's final order cutoff day for the Patchwork Girl of Oz issue number 2. That means that pre-orders need to be in, and pre-orders are so important in the comic book business. They really are. They tell retailers if there's interest in a book. If somebody actually asks for a book, they might actually order more copies, and so it's really helpful. So if you can, please call or go to your local comic shop and pre-order a copy of The Patchwork Girl of Oz issue 2 from Image Comics. I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. That said, I'm going to move on to business here. Earlier today on X, I posted something about self-starting. It was basically in response to somebody. Sorry, I have a bit of a nasal problem today. Somebody posting about how they have been out of work as an animation in the animation industry for a while, and we're looking for work, and we're really upset about it. And basically, I think. Sorry. You really got to be a self-starter to move ahead. You can't wait for somebody to do the work for you and find you. I'm going to talk about that as we move forward on this. But just show you what I was working on last time I was here. I think it was this panel. No, oh, this page? No, it was... What page was it? Maybe it was this page. Where I showed how I laid out lettering at the same time as my layouts. And today I wanted to show you, first I'm going to show you this and I'm going to talk if I can. This is another way that I lay things out sometimes. I'm going to remove the lettering so we can see it. But this is another page, is the previous page in this issue. And sometimes when I'm laying out a page, I'll use different colors to denote certain things if the layout is complex in any way. And in this case, it's another page where we're seeing the three main characters coming down a mountain, and I wanted to have a variety of geographic locations. In this other page, which is actually the following page, we can see that there's a waterfall. And I thought for the previous page, it might be fun to show the stream that it eventually turns into that waterfall. So let me just turn these off and I'll show you what I did here. And I wanted to have it be one image with the characters moving through it. I wanted this fifth issue is kind of like a road story, so I wanted to see them on the road. And this is my initial, get rid of these. My initial layout idea, showing that the path and the panels, and from that I created 3 panels. I reorganized those, and then started building up. First, I built up. I drew the path and the stream. So there's the brick path going here, and then the stream coming down here, and at a certain point there's a little tiny bridge. I thought that'd be a nice little change up in the geography. Then I threw in some trees to give it variety and frame things, and then ultimately I put in little markers for where the characters would be. And when I did that in conjunction with the lettering so that I could organize it and have it flow. Today I'm going to start refining this. And the first thing I'm going to do is start refining the characters. So I'm going to throw that in here, a little scrim. So back to what I was talking about on X. When it comes to creative fields, I think you really need to be a self-starter. And, you know, I walk the walk on this because that's pretty much how I've moved through the various jobs that I've had, the various career opportunities I've had. I've tended to make my own way. Which is, you know, I know it's not easy, but I'm sorry I'm having trouble talking today because of my nasal troubles. I might have made a big mistake in trying to get people to come talk to me or listen to me today. I wanted to use myself as sort of a guys, I apologize. I'm going to have to cut this short, and I'm going to explain why. And I'm just going to draw here for just a second, as long as I can, but this is not going to work out today. As many of you know, a few years ago I had brain surgery, and it was endoscopic nasal, and they went through my nose and really screwed up my sinuses. And then I had to have a second round of brain surgery a year and a half ago, and they did more damage to it. And now every once in a while I'll have sort of terrible, you know, nasal issues where there's stuff coming down and it keeps me from talking. It can really take me out of service for a while as I deal with it. I think it's happening right now, and I apologize for that. I'm going to try. Let's see what the text is. I gotta have a text on for this. I might not. Yeah, I'm glad I'm alive. I'm glad for the surgery that I got. But boy, is my nose messed up because of it. I realize I'm going to have to adjust the lettering even more. So the person that I was talking about, who made the post about not getting any work, it made me think of my situation. And you know, the two comic series that I have, Oddly Normal and Patchwork Girl, are both, you know, Patchwork Girl is based on a book, but you know, it's a public domain thing, so I do tend to think of it as mine because it's an adaptation that I'm working on. And so in that vein, I'm gonna refer to it as one of my self-starter projects. One of the best ways to get noticed now in a creative field is to make your own way. In my post I said, if you're a filmmaker, make a short film. If you're an animator, make a short animated piece. If you're a musician, make and record an original album. If you're a writer, write an original novel. If you're a comic creator, make an original comic. That's the best way to move forward. And if you do that, you're not only moving yourself forward with your skills, with your visibility, but also with your craft. You know, you're learning how to do it. When I created Oddly Normal originally, you know, nobody knew what it was, and it was an original thing, and it kind of went. I didn't have any plans for it, but I got picked up by a webcomic aggregator a long time ago, and then I got picked up by a small publisher, and then I got the rights back. And I pitched it out to publishers, and Image picked it up. But I had done the work. You know, I had at least 2 issues to show to Image when I pitched it, so they could see that I knew how to put together a comic. They could see that. They could see that that I was a storyteller that had a point of view. I'm not sure how I want her. Kind of want her playing here. And I learned a lot by doing that. I wouldn't have had that opportunity to get published by Image as a creator if I hadn't done the work. If I hadn't put in the work to create the comics so that the publisher could see it. The same goes with this, Patchwork Girl of Oz. It was originally just a webcomic exclusive. It was, a newsletter exclusive comic that I was doing for my newsletter subscribers. And I was doing it just because I wanted to do it. And I was going to make it happen. And it just so happens that in the same way as Oddly Normal got picked up by Image, I had 2 issues basically done that I could show Eric Stevenson an Image, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." Both of these projects, they didn't come about as something that I waited around for somebody to hand to me or help me get done. I literally willed them into existence. I really believe that. I really feel that way about that kind of thing. I willed them into existence. Hold on a second. I'm feeling a little better, so maybe I'll keep going here. Let's get some calming music. They wouldn't exist without me. Even though this is based on L. Frank Baum's book, nobody gave me this project to do. Somebody asked me actually a few days ago, so how'd you get involved with the Oz project or the Oz, and it was a question like that, and it was asked sort of along the lines of who gave you this job? who and I had to say, well, nobody. It's a public domain book, and I did it on my own in my free time for my newsletter subscribers, because I wanted it to exist. So you can do that. You can, even if you're like, I'm going to talk specifically about comics right now and comic creators, because that's what I know best, and so I think I can speak to that. No, I think let's change this. Sorry, I can address this guy first to get his attitude down. It's kind of ticked off right here. I'm going to have her taunting. Nobody gave this project to me. I made it happen. And sometimes that means sacrificing free time. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. People, say, well, I don't have time to do that. I have to work. Well, I was in the Air Force for 6 years, and basically, I had no social life because I would come home from work and I'd work on my comic stuff, my art stuff in the hopes that someday that it would pay off, and it did. 4 months after my between 3 and 5 months, I forget the exact timing of my my end of my enlistment, my first comic was published. So sometimes you got to sacrifice things like free time and a social life if you really, really want this, especially if you want it on your terms. I wanted to be. I wanted to work on creator-owned content, and again, I consider the Oz project creator-owned. If you want that, you gotta put in the work, because no one's gonna do it for you. You gotta be a self-starter. And it can be difficult. I know. I've been there. I think I'm going to shift this. So that, yeah, it's coming downstairs, so let's flip that. Have her coming down the stairs. I was hoping to be a little bit more coherent about what I was talking about today. I apologize. My nasal issues have gotten in the way, and like when this is happening, when I talk, tends to make it worse. Why don't I keep trying to take a drink of it? Somebody has a cap on it. All right. So change this. She's got her arms out in here. I like that. I like that. But anyway, that's pretty much all what I wanted to say. You don't have to sit around and wait for something to happen. You can make it happen. I understand that if you're out of work with your chosen career field, that can be tough. But maybe temporarily get a job, that's not in the career field to keep you afloat, while in your free time you work on, your movie, your animated short, your record, your comic, your book, anything that will keep you moving forward if you really care about it, Sort of declaring there. Try to get sort of basic body language in the drawings when I'm doing the initial passes here. She's going to be proclaiming herself here. Let's move that. If anybody has any questions about what I've been babbling about, please feel free to ask. I know this isn't, the most exciting thing to watch. When it comes to the making of a comic, but to me, this is one of the most important parts, is the layouts and the initial setup, and it's a part that doesn't get talked about enough. It's one of the most important parts. It's the planning of the page. Trying to make sure that the compositions are okay. Make sure that there's. I think I'm going to move Glass Cat somewhere over here. Just try to balance it out. And I actually think I'm going to... Oh, I like the idea of seeing her coming down the stairs. Oh, I don't have to give that up. I can just add more stairs. There's a little too much dead space in this panel, and I think I want to have her over here. Put that there. I'll move this dialogue. This is actually one of my favorite parts of making comics, is figuring out all the compositions for all the elements. Because I really try to make sure things work. There we go. And now I'll have Ojo walking down the stairs here. I'm gonna have to reimagine where the stairs lead. There we go. All right. Got the basics all set up here. I'm gonna look in the chat here real quick. I think I missed some chat. Jay Lopez says, I'm trying to work my way up too, but I'm having patience and keep work patiently. Yep, gotta have patience. Jay Lopez asks, where do you get your ideas when it comes to storytelling? Based on your own personal life or the things you've seen in society? Well, Oddly Normal has a lot of biographical elements to it, you know, but I don't try to make that the point of it. I'm big on escapism, so I try to keep things as escapist as possible. Gotta make these characters bigger because their sizes aren't quite big enough compared to the previous panel. But I can make them smaller, I guess. These guys smaller. Here I'm trying to basically create my own, ease on down the road, or off to see the wizard, or that kind of thing. The classic characters in Oz walking along the brick road. But I wanted to do it in a different way. It felt like they were moving down the mountain. But to further answer your question, Dave Lopez, ideas are really, and I said this to somebody recently, ideas are worthless. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Everybody's got ideas. It's what you do with them that matters. It's how you act on them and put them into how you make them a reality. How you work them into your work, into your creativity. And the end result is really all that matters. All right. I mean, some of the stuff in Oddly Normal is biographical, mainly like the bully stuff, the bullying aspect, and her going to a different school and having a new world. That's very much it happened to me. But I don't let it stand in the way of story. All right, so I'm gonna start working on refining the actual road here, and I'm gonna keep the lettering in so that I have a sense of where that's gonna be. And oftentimes I will, like this started, I think, it started as with the background. I had an idea for the background, but I usually do backgrounds after getting the characters established, getting where they are established. It's just easier to work that way, and it's going to be the same thing for here from now on, because I'm going to be working the background a little bit around where I've decided the characters are going to be. step, and then maybe a little bit of a path where she's, maybe not. I'm gonna have her on another set of steps here. I see that. I'm gonna have a tree there, so I should probably make the path at least hint at coming around there. And then it comes around that tree. And back down. Maybe some steps. I'll make that flatter. So that when it comes back around, we don't have to see it. There we go. Nope, I'm not thinking correctly. I have to match it up to this. So here we got steps. We want steps all the way up to here. There we go. I'll have some brown breaking this up so we don't have to see the edges. Still really keeping things rough and loose. But we've got to start. Oops. Now, let's turn that off. Turn that off, and we're just building and building and building. Get that there. Give a hint. All right, now it's time to refine the path of the stream. So I want to twist and turn a little bit. See, I don't like the where she is here. I'll move her up a little bit. Maybe she'll be standing on a rock looking at the stream. So as I add elements, some things need to adjust. I don't know, it's too straight. And maybe like a mini waterfall here. And then I will no, let's make it go farther. So I work the landscape around the path and the stream once I get it established here. There we go. Okay, and then last but not least, I'll turn this off. We will throw in some trees. Another element I want to have in the background is the trees will have like giant root systems, and they'll be coming out of the grass and the earth. I want to turn on there, make sure it's good. So I'm just going to insinuate the branches and I'm not going to see too much of the canopy of these trees. But in the coloring, I want to have like areas of sunlight, dappling, kind of like, I'll show you a page from issue 1, kind of like this. One of the things I wanted to show with this page is them coming out of the dark forest and into the light, and you can see like dappling from the sunlight. I'm going to do that again for this page. See, one of the good things about one of the many good things about doing your lettering, at least in a rough form with your layouts, is you can avoid bad tangents with the lettering. If you can see, I'm kind of drawing around the temporary balloons, just so I have a sense of where everything's going to go, and I don't want things butting up against other things. If you don't know what bad tangents are in drawing, you should learn about them immediately. Once you know about them, it'll improve your artwork 1,000-fold almost immediately. It's a concept that when somebody taught it to me, and I didn't go to art school, but somebody taught it to me. An amazing artist named Marin Roos, Marynroos. She's on Instagram. Go check her out. She's an awesome artist. She pointed out a terrible flaw in one of my drawings. She pointed it out nicely, but she pointed out this terrible flaw in one of my drawings one day many years ago, and I'll never forget it. And it almost immediately changed the way I approach certain things. And it made me conscious of bad tangents, and they can be bad. The way I had something composed kind of made the image a little bit R-rated, and I didn't realize it. And it just took moving somebody's hand to make it less so. Really wish I could have like just a bit of leaves here. Maybe I could just try to sneak it in, but I don't want it. And maybe one here, just to have it frame a little bit. We'll see how it works. I don't know that that's going to work too well, given where the trim is. No, it's not going to work at all, is it? Oh, let's not do that. Actually, if I just do this, there we go. I'll figure it out. I did want to have some kind of foreground elements here. Foreground, midground, and background. But I'm not sure it'll work. We'll see. But this is kind of laid out now, and all I have to do is start refining things. I don't know if this looks like a mess to you, but this is how I start pretty much every page. I'm thinking of starting a series of Instagram or just social media posts in general called Ugly to Pretty, because that's how I think of it. You start ugly and work your way until things look good. Now I'm going to add one more layer here. We'll do it in this bright orange, and we'll sort of get a sense of where maybe hills and grass are. I want to have and rocks. I want the stream to be sort of strewn with rocks. It's going to be a very busy page, that's for sure, but I kind of want that. The first issue has a bit of scope in terms of locations. It moves from the small house in the forest to a big house up in the mountain. You see him going through a little bit of Oz. But issues 2 and 3 are limited in location, and it's been frustrating for me just the way that it's worked out. I've had to move some things around in the story to make issue 2 a little more poppy. I moved introduced a character earlier than she had been introduced in the book, to help bring that part of the story alive. And I changed locations. I created a new location that wasn't in the book. I had them go to this large library in the house, and so that should be fun. I can actually show you. I remember it was driving me nuts trying to figure out how to make the 4th issue, have a little bit more variety in terms of location. And I built, you can see it here. This is going to be the setting for one of the scenes, just to give it a little bit more scope, to open up the world a bit. So anyway, issue 5 is where they finally get out into Oz, and so I really want to make this feel, much more expansive and have the backgrounds play a bigger role in the storytelling. Okay, I can turn all those off. All right, now I'm gonna go in again. Oh, those are the panels. Basically, just start the next step in the process, which is to start roughing in, or start refining, I should say, the characters. Hey, I want to also say, earlier today, I upgraded my one of my apps so that I could stream 1080 instead of 720. Hopefully the video quality is a little better. I'm not sure if it is. I can't tell with these. I'll look at it later. But hopefully you're able to see more of what I'm doing better. I noticed that the quality was really affecting the Procreate Dreams guide or demo that I did. Sometimes it was hard to read the tiny text on the timeline, and that really frustrated me. So I thought maybe it's time to fix that. Actually, I'm just going to do this. Ooh, that's too big. Get the right size. One of the great things about doing a comic series, one of the most frustrating things at first is especially if they're characters that you created, is getting, well, I guess all characters, but keeping the characters on model, if you care about that kind of thing, can be frustrating at first. But after drawing them for a while, it just becomes shapes. It becomes shapes to you, and you can pretty much, draw them from memory. I hope to get to a point where I'm drawing them even better from memory. But you start to learn the proportions. You start to understand, where things go. It's fun. Anybody have any questions or comments in the chat here? I'm very happy that everybody is joining me to watch. If you have any questions, please let me know. Maybe I'll have a couple of fish jumping here. Have her looking at it. She doesn't eat, so she wouldn't really be interested in catching them. She has no use for food, being made of glass. But she wants to learn about the world. J. Lopez on Instagram asks, who or what inspired you to draw at a very young age? Well, if you believe my mother, it was my first drawing was butter on carpet. That's what she tells me. So I've been drawing my whole life. Everything has inspired me. It was mostly, I think, seeing Star Wars at age. What was I was 5 or 6 when I saw it. I saw it in the re-release in 78, so I would have been 5.5 or something like that. But yeah, like, when I was a kid in school, back, I don't know if they do this anymore, but we used to cover our textbooks with paper, with supermarket bag paper, to keep them from getting damaged, because we didn't own them. And I would draw on those. I'd draw little X-wing and TIE fighter battles on my school book covers, and sometimes my first commissioned work ever as an artist was other kids paying for me to draw on their books. So it wasn't one thing. I've always been a creative person. I've always drawn. I've always written. I've been writing stories since I was a kid too. I think of myself as a writer who draws as opposed to an artist who writes. If I had to give up one of the two things, I would give up drawing every day of the week. No, she's not doing that. She's kind of balancing. There we go. I'd miss it, but if I couldn't write, I would think I would be incredibly sad. I'm just lucky enough that I can draw and have built up the skill over time to the point that I can do this professionally. Comics, I wanted to be a filmmaker first I wanted to be a comic artist when I was a little kid. Then I got into high school and got into like film and theater, and was in the film program in community college for the brief time that I was in college. But one day I skipped class and didn't skip class. I was coming home from class, and went to a comic shop, and that's where I kind of got back into comics and realized, hey, I can make movies this way instead of having to work in the terribly competitive and awful film world. This was back when you actually shot things on film. It was pre-digital. You actually had to get the stuff developed, and oh god, I hated it. I just wanted to tell stories, and I felt like it was just being made so hard by the technical aspect of it. If I'd grown up in the digital age, I would probably be a filmmaker today. That would be for sure. I would have been making movies since I was a kid. It wouldn't even have been a question. All right, one pass done. Let's start with her down here. Somebody added me on X yesterday. And it was a very simple message. She said, "Scraps looks terrible. Her hair was always distinctive." And my philosophy for online is be positive. And so I thanked them for their comment, but let them know that the Patchwork Girl has had many artistic interpretations over the years, and this is just mine. And then I explained why I decided to have her hair, which is supposed to be yarn, be less kind of wispy as it was in the original book, and variations over time, and be more bigger and almost like dreadlocks. I wanted them to be big bolts of yarn. I wanted to have a thickness to it, so that when she moved around, I could have them flop and flip and do different things, as opposed to just a few wispy, tendrils of thin yarn. It just didn't work for my aesthetic and the way I draw and the way I wanted to sort of have her perform, so to speak. It's a big consideration you got to make. You're with comics. You're not doing illustrations. You're creating performances. You're creating storytelling with your characters. So you gotta when you design them, you gotta think about that aspect. And I was fully prepared for Oz fans to question some of my decisions, but I'm an Oz fan too, and I'm the one putting in the work here, so I had to make her my own a little bit. Jay Lopez says, "I became a huge fan of your work when I discovered your series of Jawa adventures." Oh, thank you very much. That was fun. If somebody would pay me to draw Jawas all day, I'd probably be doing that, because I just love doing it. But nobody came a calling, so I had to move on to other passions. I've been an Oz fan all my life, and wanted to do an Oz comic since I can't even remember. So this is a huge honor for me to get to do this, and to have it be done with Image is just, I couldn't believe that Image was interested in my first series, and I really didn't think that they'd be interested in this one. So I'm absolutely thrilled. I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm like, Wicked Witch of the West is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, based mostly on the 1939 film. When I remember seeing that and just being just loving that character. So the novel Wicked is, I love that book. It's had a huge influence on me, especially with Oddly Normal. But fun fact about Wicked Witch of the West and me. Margaret Hamilton, the actress who played her in the 39 film, we were born on the same day. Different years, of course, but the same day. So I have a great affinity for the witch. Oh, got somebody over on YouTube talking. Drafts on YouTube says, very cool to see the behind the scenes. I love Procreate. Looking forward to version 5.4 with better brush management. And then Shadman says, sir, do you still enjoy drawing with all those client work? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I don't really do client work anymore, at least not right now. I've done it before in the past, and the only client work I really loved working on was when I was a background and character artist on How It Should Have Ended. I don't know if you guys know that I did that, but for 7 years I worked on background and character art for the animated series How It Should Have Ended, and it was a joy to work on those, and I really wish I could have become a bigger part of that series, but I had to move on. Otherwise, client work it's work. It paid the bills, and I got some great experience out of it, but it's not. I never wanted to, like, a lot of comic creators. They want to draw Spider-Man or Superman, or it's their dream job to draw for a franchise. That wasn't me. My hero growing up was George Lucas, but I didn't want to be the guy who was known for drawing characters George created. I wanted to be like George. I wanted to be the guy who created characters. Working on an Oz adaptation is really the closest thing that I can get to sort of serving both my interests, which is, creator-owned work, but also scratching that itch of working on characters that I love, existing characters. And because Oz is public domain, I get to do that, but I'm putting my own stamp on something that hasn't been done in comic book form yet, so it's a lot of fun. Hope that answered your question. And as to drafts over on YouTube, as far as Procreate's, I love Procreate. I do everything in Procreate, including lettering. I'm fine with their brush management system because I really only use a handful of brushes. I'll be honest. There's not many. I'm not really a big brush guy. J. Lopez on Instagram says, what are your thoughts on Wicked? Well, like I said, I love the novel. I read it right when it came out, back in the late 90s. a huge fan of it. It wasn't. I didn't like the second book in this series, so I stopped reading it. It was really that first book that I loved. If you're talking about the movie, I haven't seen it, and I probably won't watch it. Even before I even saw the musical, I loved the music for it, and that's when I thought that the story was relatively unchanged from the novel. But Act 1 is great. Act 2 is so different from the book that it's just not my thing. So I don't know if I ever watched the movie, but I'm glad that it's creating new Oz fans. And Gregory Maguire, the author of the book, he seems happy with both the stage musical and the movie. So who am I to say? I just know that it's not what I like. It's not for me. But I'll still listen to the music, the original Broadway cast album, because man, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, they're just perfect in those roles. They're so good. They're so good. Love the music. Love it, love it, love it. First trip to New York I ever took was actually to see Wicked on Broadway back in 2008, I think. So finally got to watch it after years of only knowing the music. Hope that answers your question. Oops. I'm starting to be able to see the page come together now that I've got characters in there. Starting to really feel like what I wanted it to feel like. Here, this kind of thing, I'm going to have to, when I do the actual background drawing for the steps, I'm going to have to align their footfalls with the actual steps. But for now, I'm just drawing in where I want them to be, and then I'll work the background around that, as opposed to the other way around. Because it's much easier to do that. Establish the background first, then get the characters in there. I'm sorry, establish the characters first, and then work the background around it, I should say. I've got that backwards. Characters first, for usually, well, almost always, actually. It's rare that I do a page like this, or, I'll show you another example in issue 4 here. The page I showed you before here with the background of the library that I'm going to be working on. I actually did the background sketch first. Where do I? And then where is it? Sorry, I have to find something here. It's my layers. There. You can see that I layered in other stuff on top of it. There's going to be ladders. They're holding on the ladders, but so that was my process for that page. But so it varies, but usually it's characters first. Oh, it's already 3. I'm going to finish up the sketching here on the Glass Cat and Ojo. And then I'm going to say goodbye until tomorrow. When I'll be back with more work on Patchwork Girl, which is pretty much going to be what I'm working on the live stream in various forms. It won't always be sketching like this. Sometimes it'll be inking, sometimes it'll be coloring. Just depends what I have to get done that day. Kind of balling his fists here since he's sort of frustrated. Maybe have more of an angle too. There we go. So that's how far we got here. It's pretty much laid out. When I do like my first pass on the background, I'll probably call this this page done in terms of the penciling. Oops. Come on, where's my relayer? There it is. Sorry. And then jump into inks. And as I go, if I need to sort of refine things in the penciling, I'll do that. But at this point, I think the layout and at least the pencils for the characters are done. Yay! For me, when it comes to organizing how I work on comic pages, because I do everything myself, except for, well, actually, somebody else might color this page. I'm bringing out another artist, or I've already brought out another artist, a colorist. Her name is Tracy Bailey. She's awesome. She worked with me on Oddly Normal for a little bit to help me out in a pinch on a couple of issues. And she'll be coming on to help me keep on schedule with Patchwork Girl. Not sure if she'll color this page or if I will. Sometimes I'll color some pages that I want to. Anyway, in terms of how I work on comics is I break it down into processes, and I know that I can do like 2 to 3 processes per day, and a process is either penciling, inking, coloring. And I don't include lettering because the lettering for me is part of the penciling stage where the layout is included. So I just have to add the balloons, and that can be done really quickly. I usually in the last, usually finish that. That's the last thing I finish is actually the balloons right before I send the files off, because that's the last thing that I want to lock down. I want to be able to, move things around as I go with regard to lettering. But yeah, close to knocking down a process on this, and it looks okay so far. All right, that's all for today. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central for more work on Patchwork Girl of Oz. Remember that final order cutoff for the Patchwork Girl of Oz issue 2. Where is it? Where's that thing? There. Issue 2 is today. So if you want to get a pre-order copy, which is really important in comics, it's so important to pre-order so that stores know there's interest in the book. Please call or stop by your local comic shop today and pre-order a copy of Patchwork Girl of Oz #2 from Image Comics. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, to all my streams and stuff on X, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. And I'll see you tomorrow.